I think what we all want is open free market competition where anyone can, it's an open standard to transfer value. And it's very simple. Like people think like, well, you know, Visa's easier. They don't have to touch Bitcoin. Visa's not easier. It's slinging around a bunch of credit liabilities all over the place. So it's not easy. Wendy's doesn't care about the price of the thing. They're getting instantly credited dollars without any notion of interchange that is fixed and announced by the Fed or by a bank consortium. So they don't have a tab open of like, what's the price of Bitcoin? They don't do that, right? They don't care. It's better payments. No, the thesis is that the network is going to be better than what we have today. Today we have these kind of like old bifurcated, like, if I walk into Starbucks with Western Union, they're going to be like, what am I supposed to do with that? And if I try and remit money over Visa to El Salvador, don't really work. You have these highly optimized digital payment networks for non-digital assets. It's very expensive. There's a lot of fixed costs. It's very slow. And I think that this one open global singular network will, all these other services will consolidate on it. So it's implied that Cash App comes on. What's the use of a network if I'm the only guy on there? That's a pretty lonely network, Matt. And according to the definition of a network, I don't even think it'd be called a network. So it's implied that, yeah, one day before I die, my wire transfer from Chase to Barclays should be over a more efficient payment rail. And so I think what we all want is open free market competition where anyone can, it's an open standard to transfer value. And it's very simple. Like people think like, well, you know, Visa's easier. They don't have to touch Bitcoin. Visa's not easier. It's slinging around a bunch of credit liabilities all over the place. So it's not easy. It's, you go online, read the instructions, you implement it, and you can build the experience you want. And that's where you get inherent free market competition, which inherently suppresses pricing, and you get to really get to the bottom of things like financial inclusion problems. Like if JP Morgan Chase can't bank someone because the only way they make revenue on you is if you're credit worthy. But now if the value transfer standard's open, people could build services for whoever they want. If there's a real market opportunity, the market's going to find that, right? So I think it's just a better world, and the more people that come on, the better. And for a business like mine, we benefit from the network effects of that. Like Jeff Bezos, people are like, what happens when Amazon turns it on? Like, I don't know, probably worth 10 times more overnight, right? Like, I don't know, like since when was like changing the world and like the trajectory of your country a homework assignment that was due in like 3 days? Like, come on. I think it's working well.
Well, just have
listen, I've been through a lot of these bear markets. This is the first one where Bitcoin, through a violent bear market where everyone's freaking out, is outperforming Netflix. So, Matt, everything's dropping. What do you want El Salvador to hold right now instead? Like, right? And like the rising of rates crushes emerging markets. So I don't know, pick your poison. Like the system's broken. I don't know what to tell you, right? It's like dollar to dollar using this open network. These two counterparties, we don't sign MSAs with them. I don't have to check their creditworthiness to their balance sheet. We don't need, SBF to, see if anyone's like unaccredited, right? Like it's just cash final bearer instrument. And so, yeah, for consumers to Domino's, for U.S. citizens to remitting money home. And it's really cool, too. I mean, you could remit $1 instantly and for free. So you're talking about a lot of low-income folks where, sure, TransferWise fees aren't that bad if you're remitting $100 grand. If you're remitting $10, it's 50%, right? Providing a premium, like banking-like experience for consumers where we give you a Visa card, we make money on that, right? We offer the same suite of products. We're interoperable with the card network. You can make ACH transfers, but then we also give you this Lightning Network thing, and we give you like yield savings accounts, like all like how do banks monetize consumers? It's the same thing. And then on the acquiring side, it's the same thing. Is I can just, my counter-positioning, like for example, a card network's rack rate is probably 100 basis points. It's a like near 100% cash flow positive business for me. So I could charge a big retailer 5 basis points. That's all cash flow positive, right? And so I'm just doing the same financial services, just better. That's the innovation. It's not rocket science. It's just better pricing, better experience, so it's pretty straightforward. I don't know, if this is a hot take in this room, but I'm Bitcoin. I don't, like, you don't want me to get going on everything else. So,
but I do.
Oh, we will. So I think Bitcoin fundamentals haven't changed. The correlation to risk assets is interesting. We don't have enough time to expand on that, but I do think like post 2008, what you saw is assets with any relative fixed quantity, or just you're implying non-direct relationship to interest rates, start to rally on the back half of recessions and macro environments like this. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see if Bitcoin rallies when others don't in like 6 to 12 months. But right now, it's risk off of everything. Like, everyone's scared. Even the T-bond market, like everything's trading terrible. And the use of energy is implied in like the growth of humanity. You know what else uses a lot of energy? An airplane. So I tell you what, you don't like energy. Next time you and the wife go to Europe, you take a kayak, I'll fly United. Next time you want to save and grow your family's wealth, you use the dollar, I'll use Bitcoin. Next time you wash your clothes, you hand scrape your kid's stain out of the white t-shirt, I'll use a washing machine. Like, since when was using energy a bad thing? I mean, come on. Like, it's absolutely asinine and ridiculous. And as far as, it's just ridiculous, seriously. It's like, no one was like, oh, this airplane uses too much energy.
But we're
it's
trying
like,
to use
I want
less.
to travel footprint. I mean, it like incentivize, it's the best use of energy. You know, like, what an airplane can't do, or your washing machine? Like, make use of excess energy of a waterfall. So it helps stabilize the grid. Like, guys flying airplanes aren't stabilizing the grid. So it's just such an asinine, ridiculous, uninformed, uneducated opinion.
Those are the kind of questions I ask.
Sorry. No, proof of stake, like, first of all, if you want an asset to have a commodity premium, which, you know, this room knows what that is, creating money can't be free. Like, guys, what are we talking about? Like, the fact that if a lot of people want to create Bitcoin, it becomes more difficult is why the thing works. Have you lost your mind? Creating money cannot be free. And so, like, what do you mean it's just a stake in the network? So someone like BlackRock just buys stakes in the network? It's absolutely ridiculous. And then you also have to account for things like the laws of physics, which proof of work does. I mean, I think what Michael Saylor calls Bitcoin property and everything else not. I'm not going to comment on what the SEC should do or anything, but I think the real direct messaging there is your relationship with Bitcoin is not a liability, okay? Your relationship with Bitcoin is not a proxy to some foundation, some team, some corporate structure, some development decision. In fact, the founder of Bitcoin, he, she, or they might be dead. And it's working really well, Matt. That's what Saylor means when it's a property. There's no liability relationship. Like stable coins, there's a liability there. It doesn't mean stable coins are bad. Matt, I own a security. It's called strike stock. Securities aren't bad. Building liability relationships, like Tesla stock's not bad, but there's a liability there with Elon and the company and their roadmap and their cash balance, right? And so, like, proof of stake, your relationship with that asset's a liability. A stable coin, your relationship with that's a liability. In theory, what you want is a monetary asset where there are no liability relationships. That's the whole point of the thing. That's what proof of work solved that. It was like an amazing innovation. Proof of stake, if proof of work is like, we finally got an airplane to fly, so this is a quote of a friend of mine. Proof of stake is like, we know how to make it cheaper, faster, and less carbon efficient just by not flying. It's like, well, like, that's not like a competitor. That's just a totally different product. So, sorry. Whether they're right or wrong, we could have a whiskey over that, but that was how they felt. Then the Durbin Amendment took debit card interchange away from banks. They're like, this is ridiculous. You're charging 3% to move a balance from Chase to Bank of America. There's no credit in that. There's no, like, cost in that. That's not 3%, and, like, why are you saying that? Durbin took it away from them. What ended up happening then is someone like Bank of America goes, well, I can't monetize mortgage lending anymore post-2008. That blew up, didn't it? Now I can't monetize my checking accounts. So when did we start seeing overdrafts, non-free checking, and a push to consumer credit, which is a U.S. phenomena because of this environment? There's no credit card market in Europe. It was then. It was when Bank of America said, listen, the federal government took all my revenue models away. The only way I can really make money is credit cards. And then you see businesses like Chime. These are like Durbin Amendment arbitrages, which it's just a checking account and debit card that routes under the exemption of $10 billion worth of assets, right? And so what I think in my messaging to the Durbin office, I had the pleasure of speaking with them, is kind of like put the guns down.